and that the couple are legally married. They are not divorced. And that's why they are couple. So no third party should intrude upon the marital function. So no surrogacy in Islam. An excess number of fertilized ovum can be preserved, like I said, by cryopreservation, and it may be transferred to the same wife, not another person, at a later date. The same wife. And coming back, infertility is defined as, sorry, I skipped that earlier. Infertility is defined as inability of a couple to conceive after 1 year of regular, unprotected sex. And it is said medically that 3 to 4 times a week for a year, unprotected. So if that happens and then the wife does not get pregnant, then we say the wife is infertile. And there could be many reasons. We are not discussing fertility, so I won't go into that. It could be primary, it could be secondary, and then it could even be the husband. It doesn't have to be the wife, but it's just that in African society, once we don't give birth, the first thing, the wife has the problem. But it's not always the case, because as a sin, 40% of infertility comes from the wife, 40% from the husband, and then the others are unexplained. And the recent researches have shown that childlessness disturbs both the woman and the man. But it's just that the female finds it a lot easier to talk about it, because of course the society is on her, the pressure is on her. So she wants to talk to people, she wants to seek help. But the male is shy, does not believe that he even has the problem, and then believes that even if he tells people, they will not accept it very well. They could mock him. So it's easier for a female to cry out that I have issues as opposed to men. Okay, and some of the things supporting ART is that the Quran says that wealth and progeny are adornment of this world, and that meaning that the families can seek to have children and they can also seek to have wealth. We all agree on that. Okay, so, and also if you look at prayer that we say very often, we say that, oh Lord, grant us spouses and offsprings that will be the coolness of our eye. So this also supports ARC, that, okay, if we can pray to God to have that, then we can seek medical intervention when we think that we have issues. And then if we look at some scenarios in the Quran, Quran 51 verse 28 to 30, because of time I will not read, we can check it up. Talking about Sarah looking for the fruit of the womb. And then we also talked about Zachariah and his wife. They were infertile, barren, whatever you want to call it, for so many years. But they still didn't lose faith, and they kept calling on God, and their prayers were answered. And then the prophet also says that, marry the kind and fertile woman who will give birth to many children. So this also supports ART and stuff like that. And of course, now we have, because of technology, because of modern science, it's a bit more developed, though expensive, but we can still seek. And that in seeking for this, there are some things that should be put into consideration, and I will mention just a few of them. That the IVF, like I've been saying before, that the IVF must involve a married couple. That the sperm must be from the husband and the egg from the wife. Also, that the procedure must be conducted by competent team in order to reduce the chances of failure or missing of zygotes and pre-embryo. And I'm sure when I said that, people will be wondering that, who are not competent? because it involves it involves a lot of technology, and because it involves freezing, just like those in the lab will agree with me. If you collect blood sample from one person, another, and if you don't label properly, you are going to mix up the blood, and you are going to mix up the results, such that you could give someone that has HIV negative and say you are HIV positive because we didn't label properly. And that's why he's saying that the team, because it's a teamwork, you have doctors, you have embryologists, you have scientists, you have a couple of people working in the setting to make it work out. The team must be competent enough to do their job properly, such that you don't mix up the egg and the sperm of Mr. A for Mr. B. Because if that is done, then it goes against Islam. Also, surrogacy is not accepted, and we all agree about that. And that some school of thought agree that no more than the egg or the sperm needed should be taken. Should be transferred to the uterus. Most school of thought agree that you don't transfer more than what is needed, because if you transfer more than what is needed, it results in multiple pregnancies, and then you now start looking for ways to remove some of them, committing abortion, so that others can live. So outcome of ART. Pregnancy outcomes after ART, like I said, has become favorable. But it's just that with every science, with everything, you have your how do I call this? You have your setback. There is, what it's trying to say is that the best option is just pray that everything works normally. Because even with ART, it has this complication, like I said earlier, complications to the baby, complications to the mother, and then where there are no complications, you even have an issue of money. So those are part of issues we have. And for also, like we've been saying before, that for ART to work under Islam, the couples have to be married, not divorced. And that because some people said that since the eggs are frozen and the sperm are frozen, are kept for later use, what if they are divorced, but the woman still wants children? Can the sperm still be used? No, it can't, because they are divorced. So the only case, or the husband is dead and I love him so much, you understand, I still want to, is not. So the only condition where that is accepted and agreed according to Islamic law is when they are both married and they are both alive. So once one party is dead, it does not hold water. And then here he says that the ban on third party has been upheld by several Islamic countries, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and then they've had series of Islamic laws propagated and meetings like that. In 1977, at the 9th Law and Medicine Conference held in Kuwait, Kuwait-based IOMS in Casablanca, Morocco, a landmark 5-point biomedical declaration, including recommendation to prevent human cloning and to prohibit all situations in which third party invades a marital relationship through donation of reproductive material. So what most Islamic country agrees is that you can go all out as long as it involves the couples. But when a third party for any form comes in, then it's not allowed. Because you have cases where they say the husband has azoospermia, no sperm, you understand? And then the wife still wants to remain in the marriage. Should another person's sperm be used? And with all we have said, we'll agree that it does not hold, it can't be used. In as much as it's not the sperm of her husband, it cannot be used. Or I like my wife, but the uterus cannot carry a baby. Can I get a surrogate mother for the wife? No. But all other methods, to the best of my knowledge, I'm not an Islamic scholar, holds under those cases. Also, talking about the preservation, it's said that though the sperm is processed and kept, that the reasons for this entails no, in as much as it entails no infringement of Islamic law. But the scholars have cautioned that the frozen embryos are the exclusive property of the couple who produce the gametes alone and may only be transferred to the wife in successive cycles during the duration of the marriage contract. What it's trying to say, because for once it's frozen, like I said, I can stay for many years. And why some advocate that it should be taken and be frozen is that even the process itself is not too fantastic. But of course, we are looking at the end product. So everybody wants to try their best to have what they want. So why go every time to take it? It's like a punishment. So why, if you can take it once, take and keep, but provided that it would only be used for her and not transferred to any other person. And some of the things that support cryoprecipitate is that preservation is that in some cases they say that like the husband is in prison, is in confinement. So what can be done? Put into consideration some countries like Nigeria where the husband can be in confinement and then they have mutual relationship. So those are part of the excuses people give that, okay, when that is done, even though they are still in marriage, they are not divorced, despite the fact that the husband is in prison, it can be used for her while they are still together. And then some other people supported that in cases where somebody has a cancer and has to undergo radiotherapy, they believe that when radiotherapy is done, a lot of these things get damaged. So it can be kept prior to the treatment and frozen such that it can be used later and you are sure that it's still intact. Other examples, when the person is seriously sick. So those are some of the reasons that was proposed and then was agreed, but with the caveat that it must be used for the couple and not transferred to other people. And then there's one other thing that they do, but the Islamic point of view does not support, and which is gender selection. Some people use it like, okay, I've been having girls all through, I want to have a boy. Because when you do ART, you can actually select the gender you want. And this says that Islamically, even aside from Islamic, that some other worldwide is frowned against, because when you do that, when you say that, okay, all the female should be killed, only the male should be produced, then you have issues later because you have one gender going into extinction while you have the other one. Though a few scholars agreed that in some cases, gender selection could be acceptable. And the most recognized and the most that everybody agrees on is when you have chromosomal abnormalities, some gene defects, that in cases like that, it is acceptable to choose gender. But aside from medical reasons, which this one falls under, that is not acceptable. Some are divided that in cases where in a family you must have at least a male, and then they have like 6 girls, you could select, but a few of them agreed and most of them differ that irrespective of what. And they are part of the what they used to support not being with it is that Allah says that He creates what He wills. To whom He wills, He gives male. To whom He wills, He gives female. And then to whom He wills, He gives both. So on that basis, you should not select gender. Also, part of the reasons why most people agreed on ART, also because they said that Islamically adoption in totality is not accepted, because even when you have a child, you can't change the name to your name. So this is one of the reasons. I wish that, so conclusively, we have talked about everything that Islam accepts, the position of Islam on ART. But the issues, some of the issues is that in Nigeria, there's no government funding, and at all, as such, it's very expensive, and most people cannot afford it. Also, it has legal, ethical, economic, and even social considerations. There are some things you need to consider if you want to go to, if you want to do ART. And then it needs proper regulatory body, because if it's not properly regulated, like those Muslim countries where, actually in countries where it works very well, we have the government bringing the Christian, the Muslims together to do recommendations, give not fatwa, but something close to that, that okay, for our religion, this is what we want, and it's what is used ethically in doing that, such that nobody just wakes up to do whatever he likes, all in the name of doing, yes. And then also, it's expensive, and then it could be emotionally demanding. And then, like I said earlier, that everything that has its advantage has disadvantage. I've seen someone that tried doing it a few years ago. Money was not the problem, but she didn't tolerate it. Aside from almost losing her life, she spent millions. Millions was spent to resuscitate her, because she reacted badly to the procedure, and she had to be admitted in an ICU. So it's not everybody that will benefit from ART, but for as much as people that can benefit, they should go ahead, provided it stays within the confine of Islam. So I wish I had a projector. I have the picture of the first, now an adult, because it was done in 1978. Salam alaikum warahmatullahi.
Jazakumullah khairan. Jazakumullah khairan to our sister. May Allah enrich you in knowledge and taqwa, and in everything that's good in this life and the hereafter. I think we'll take comments and questions. Majorly, I think questions. She has said a lot of things around assisted reproductive technology to assist people. So I don't know if we have questions. We'll ask you questions. She told us that she's not an expert, and I think she has done a very wonderful job. She also mentioned the Islamic viewpoint, which she said she's not a scholar. So we know now that she's a scholar, but she's not pretending not to be a scholar. She's a scholar because That is exactly the Islamic position on these items. Bismillah. I think we just.
Well, I have questions, then I'll just end it with a little contribution. The first question is, in some cases, you find couples that do not have a known problem. The husband has been checked over and over, is satisfied, okay, and ditto for the wife. And then for years, no issue. And then you find that I've seen 1 or 2 cases where after 8 years, 10 years of marriage, the couple just decide that let's go and try our luck this way. The man marries another woman and gets a child. The woman marries another woman and then is blessed with a child. So is there a medical explanation for that? That couples who are certified, okay, they have no problem and they are together for years and then they now have to remarry and are now blessed with children. That's number 1 question. Number 2 is about sex selection. I'm aware in animal science it is being done, except for the cost to some smaller organizations. For big farms who can afford it, they do it. But my question, and of course we are told that it is also applicable in a human being. But my question is, apart from the ethical issues, is it actually working? Is it actually practicable? Like you can actually choose to select the sex of your child and it will work medically in practice? That those are the 2 questions. The contribution, just to contrast, you have captured everything about the Islamic point of view on ART. The only addition I want to make is to tell us that the reason why third party is not allowed is that one of the objectives of Sharia, Makasi to Sharia, is that the lineage of everybody must be protected. It is very, very key. And that is why even when you adopt, the child cannot bear your name. You can adopt, you can take care of a child, blah, 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 but they will remain the son of who they are or the daughter of who they are, because the identity of everybody must be protected. The lineage must be protected. So that is part of the basis why the Islamic scholars say, no, you cannot have anything third party in the ART. Thank you.
Jazakallah khairan to our lecturer. My question is this. With regard to this ART, at what age can it be impossible for a woman to go into it? Because some women or some couples, as even for the male and the female, they have been in this issue and they have grown a bit older. At what age will it not be feasible for a woman to go into it or a man?
Anyhow. Somebody should do otherwise. I'll repeat. I'm not a scholar, but I'll try to, and I'm not an expert, I'll try to answer the question to the best of my ability. Okay, I'll start with the last question. She said something about watching a documentary. What will I say? Films are different from real life. And if it were supposed to be real life, that doctor would be sued for his life. As in, he will be sued for everything he's bought. And if you remember in my lecture, I said that part of the things I said about competent team. And then you have regulatory bodies, and that is why every Tom, Dick, and Harry. And then it's even a specialized technique. It's not something I can do. It's a specialized technique. You have to train and retrain to do it because it's very expensive. It's very technical. It involves a lot of things. It involves, aside from human being and collecting everything, it involves a typical laboratory setting where if you are a science student, you understand what I'm saying, doing. Where you have test tube, dishes, culture medium, you are washing, you are rewashing, you are using reagents and stuff like that. So it's not everybody that can do it. It's specialized. You have to have competent people, and then you have to have regulatory bodies. And that's why in everything you do, there are regulatory bodies that tell you what you can do and what you cannot do, and what is meant to be done and what is not meant to be done. As far as I know, in Nigeria, you have some centers. And part of the person I talked about that are doing it in Nigeria, Professor Ashiru, that I know was my teacher. He has a center somewhere around Maryland. I don't remember the name. But as far as I know, he does it in Nigeria and he does it outside Nigeria too. I have some other professors in Nigeria. So you can't just play with people's life. You can't just wake up trying to play God. Because to me, that was what the documentary was trying to say. You wake up, you do what you like. It's not done anywhere. Then if you know that person, you petition and sue. You have regulatory bodies. You have regulatory bodies for all, especially health related, for lab scientists, medical scientists, nurses, doctors. In fact, if you petition, you have medical court cases. You bring your witness. You have to have witness. I don't your evidence. Your evidence. You have to have proof. You can't go to a law court without providing evidence. So there has to be evidence that the person did a misconduct. If it's done, it has to have an evidence because that's gross misconduct. And then you can prove your case anywhere, anytime. Okay, next question. At what age is it impossible to do ART? Okay, what I'll answer that even for normal pregnancies, let's leave assisted pregnancy, even for normal pregnancies, the younger you have, the higher the chances of getting pregnant. For anybody, the younger you have, the higher your chances of getting pregnant. The older you have, the lesser the chances. Number one, the more the risk involved. Because when you get to certain ages, like 40, that's when you start exhibiting some medical conditions, hypertension, diabetes, all other things. You are aging. So for these two, it does not have. That's why I'm saying that during my lecture, I said something like some of the concerns, some of the issues that when older people do IVF and it's successful and they have children, they are thinking about welfare. You can imagine, let me just say, maybe someone of 50 years having a first child. At what age will she have enough capacity to train that as a first child? So there is no limitation. It's just like with increasing age. For IVF, they said ages lesser than 35 is best. So for increasing age, you have increasing complications. You have as much as genotype will be done, HIV, everything, you have a thorough examination, so many things are done. So with increasing age, you have increasing chances of some issues. Yes, couples not pregnant for many years. Okay, can I answer? I can answer. We believe it or not, we don't know. But they said scientifically that some couples are not compatible. We are not talking of physical now. Scientifically, biochemically, they are not compatible. You understand? So that is the best answer that I can give for that. And let me use to explain that. I'll use an example. There is something in medical terms that we call resource incompatibility. Resource incompatibility. In resource incompatibility, if the mother has a certain blood group as opposed to the father, and the child is coming, if the child takes the father's blood group, the mother, that's why if you have some people, you hear some people that when they give birth, they give them certain injection within certain period of giving birth. If they don't, when the antigen antibody mixes of the mother mixes with the child, they go against each other. Such that if those injections, if that injection is not taken within 72 hours of giving birth, it poses a risk for subsequent pregnancies. Because when it misses, it's like, and sure, we are enemies. Such that subsequent pregnancies, the body of the woman keeps terminating the pregnancy because it sees it as a foreign body. You understand? So scientifically, I don't know how to say it. I didn't see it with my eyes, but there are just some things like that. And with what I've heard, they said that some couples are not compatible medically, scientifically, such that if they get pregnant, if they marry, even without any issue, like you said, they would not, and if they go their separate ways. I've seen one or two like that. And the only thing that I know or I have heard is that they are not compatible scientifically, biomedically, whatever. Okay, sex selection. Does it work medically? A lot of things work medically, but it entails money. It entails money. Okay, I'll give you an instance. Some people believe that AS and AS can marry. Some people believe that AS and AS can marry. Why? Because there is a technique that when the woman is pregnant and they check, It's an invasive procedure, and it's money. I don't know, the last time I had was over 120 or 150,000 naira. It's done in Nigeria. So if they check, if the child is a sickle cell child, they can terminate the pregnancy. But why would you go through all that? You understand? It's not everything that's practicable or that works is acceptable. That, to the best of my knowledge, sex selection works. It's done and it works, but then it involves a lot of things, and then you have to put some ethical and medical things into consideration. Some will say that, okay, if you want to do it, you can do pre-pregnancy. Some will say you can do post-pregnancy. But a lot of people will say doing pre-pregnancy is better, it's safer, it's easier. And some people will say post-pregnancy does not matter. It entails a lot of scientific work and some scientific, plenty grammar. But it does work and it's done. Thank you.
There was people from the background.
Someone is with this. As Muslims, there is nothing we can do except to ask for Allah's guidance, because you are looking for the unseen. To me, it's not obvious. You won't know. There are some things that you can predict. There are some things you can check prior to that time. You can do and work towards. But there are some things, there is nothing that can be done. In fact, you won't know anything until it happens. All this we are saying is guess what? Because we know that we have had that some people are not compatible medically. So when they don't get pregnant, we now say that yes, and then they go their separate ways and get pregnant. What if Allah has destined that maybe they stayed 8 years and they went? What if they had stayed 10 years and they give birth? So what will we say? So it's just guesswork. But the ones that we know and that we can work towards is just the one I talked about. The resource incompatibility, the genotype and the AS, and some other things. Those you can check. Once you have a daughter, more specifically now, once you have a daughter that you know is, when you look at the blood group, is O negative, A negative, anything negative as opposed to positive, then you have to start sitting out down. I went to a friend's place one time, and then so I said, one was 12, one was 15. I said, oh yeah, let me sit these people down. You sit them down. That we cover does not mean that we don't, because anything can happen. Then you tell them that you are not the one that can get pregnant anyhow. You are not the one that can have an abortion. Because all those pose risk to you having, and if we read social media, I think one day I was reading something like inside my consulting room that a woman came and was crying that she has been having abortions severally and she didn't know. And what happened? She dated someone a long time ago, got pregnant, aborted, and then forgot, became a changed person. But she was a resource negative person and she didn't know. You understand that kind of thing? So those are things we advise them that, okay, this is the reason you can't, for every childbirth, even for every abortion. Now, when I'm talking about abortion, I'm not talking about, no, you can, when you get pregnant and then the pregnancy goes by itself, it's an abortion. You understand? Spontaneous. So cases like that, she even needs to present at the proper hospital. They need to check. She needs to get injection to prevent against subsequent injuries. So those are the things Okay, talking about AS, talking about SC. Those are the, yes. So those are the things, or AC, not marrying any other person aside from AA. So those are the things that you can prevent, you can talk about. But saying that they might not be compatible medically, how would someone know that? So you leave the unknown to Allah, and we keep praying. We keep praying. There is nothing that comes easy. Because when someone talks, if, for example, when someone talks of infertility, you might not know the pain if you have not been there. There are different categories. Somebody might have been infertile for 14 years, and some other person 2 years, and some other person 15 years. But you that just got married and then gave birth immediately, if they are talking, you cannot talk. So sharing. So you don't know. So there are some things we just can't talk about, but there are some things some people feel comfortable talking about. And that when you say you feel the pain, because you have been there before. When people are talking about infertility, I can talk anywhere because I was there, even though it was not for a long period. But I know